Hi, and welcome to the Retirement Point podcast. My name is Kim Docalovich, and today I will be your host of the podcast where we talk to seniors about their lives before and after they have reached the point of retirement. Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Mr. Larry Smith. So tell us about where you're from.
Okay, I'm from Cary, North Carolina. I've been living there 50 years before we moved into Retirement Pointe in 2021, and went to school at NC State here in Raleigh area. Um, married my married my wife in 1969, and she was going to school at UNCG in Greensboro. So we met on a blind date, which was sort of fun.
Oh, wow.
So I've been here 50 years in this area and worked for IBM for 41 years before retiring. And we have two children, three grandchildren.
And do they all live close or have they
Yeah,
traveled away?
yeah, my son lives in Holly Springs. My daughter lives in Durham. Granddaughter lives in Fayetteville, and the other two grandkids live in Holly Springs with my son.
Oh, wow. So everybody's just right here.
Yeah, pretty close, pretty close. And of course, my wife is here with me.
Of course. Of course. So what did you study in school? What did your wife study?
I studied electrical engineering, and
Wow.
she studied psychology.
Wow. Wow. Do you want to tell us how y'all met on your blind date?
It was set up by a friend of both of us that he was dating a girl at the same school, UNCG, and set up the blind date. And it's sort of funny because there was two guys that were dating girls there, and of course I met my wife there, and they never got married, but I did. Sort of weird. So anyway, in
That was
some
the one that was
ways,
supposed to work out.
that's right. That worked out great.
Nice. So we know that you are a big time fan of photography. So tell us how you got started in that. Where did your passion for photography come from?
Well, I think it came from, I think I've always, since I've been able to put a camera in my hand, been taking pictures. Probably started before, I'm sure it started in college and with just a standard, Instamatic type camera or something like that. And involved in, probably in the 70s, I got a camera that was more professional, if you will. So I started taking pictures of family, sceneries, vacations, that kind of stuff, and evolved on into years in the 2000s and in doing more photography with concerts and that kind of stuff, and flowers and that stuff. So I've sort of been into it forever, almost, I guess you'd say.
So is there a particular thing you like to photograph over anything else?
Well, today probably family and flowers, whereas starting in 2000s, I was doing a lot of concerts and I took a lot of pictures. Once I got my first digital camera in 2003, I started taking a lot of photographs at those shows, and I have too many photo albums to prove that.
I bet. Have your children taken up your passion for photography?
Actually, probably not. I think my daughter did. My son didn't. And today, with the advent of iPhones and cell phones being so good, That's what they're using for all their photographs and stuff. And so am I. I'm using that a lot. So
Oh yeah. Well, with
yeah,
them being local too, and you being such a guru in photography, I'm sure that you sort of probably feel that photography
yeah.
for them.
Try to take pictures of the younger kids at least as much as I can.
Awesome. So I also know that you're a big fan of music. So do you want to tell us about some of those concerts you've been to?
Yeah. Well, I guess when I was in school, my wife and I went to several together that were people that you don't even remember or don't even know probably, uh, like the Letterman, Dionne Warwick, Righteous Brothers, those type of people. And we saw Elvis one time in Greensboro when he was later on in his life, and that was fun. But we had to sit in the back so we could see the back of his head. But other than that, it was fun. And so I think I've been interested in music and playing music and not playing my musical instruments, but playing recording music probably since I was 13 or 14 years old. But as far as the concert concerned, probably the first time was it when I was in college to actually go to see somebody, and that's continued on for a long time. I've slowed down a little bit now, but probably in the 2000s and 2010s and 20s, I was doing 10 or more shows a year, which is quite a few.
Oh my goodness.
And some of those were festivals where, like the CMA Music Festival in Nashville, I went 4 times. And when you go there for that, and it's been 3 or 4 days, you see 50 artists perform, not just one. So it's a lot of stuff, a lot of photographs taken.
Oh, I can
So,
imagine. Sounds like you've been
and
to see many people.
yeah, I'm trying to remember. Starting in the 2000s, in 2001, I went to Winston-Salem, North Carolina to see a show. And I really went to see Martina McBride because she was my favorite vocalist at that point to listen to. And it was a girls' night out tour with Reba, Martina, Sarah Evans, and two other country artists, all five, taking the stage. And I entered a contest out front to win either a backstage pass or for a row seat. And I won the front row seat. So I was sitting there in the front row, and that got me sort of more interested in going to more stuff, I guess, if you will. So I've been going to lots of stuff, and I've seen probably 12 or 15 Martina McBride concerts over the years. And like you say, when you go to a lot of these festivals, you see more and more people. All the major, most of them were country music, starting in the 2000s, and because that's just what I did at that point, and bluegrass now also. So so
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
anyway, so I've sort of slowed down a little bit now, but maybe one or two a year, but and focusing more on taking care of myself and wife and family and that kind of stuff. So slowed down
Of
a little
course.
bit.
Of course. Well, back in your heyday when you were going to all the concerts, what, 10, about 10 a year, was there any particular bands or musicians that you like to see frequently if they were in town?
Yeah, there were several on the countryside. Of course, Martina McBride, but also Little Big Town, Lady Antebellum. They changed her name to Lady A, I guess. Um, oh, I got to see Taylor Swift, I think, 2 or 3 times before she became a big star. I saw her 2 or 3 times since then because my granddaughter and I went to see her. But she opened for other acts and country acts back in the day, and I got to see her doing that type of thing also. So
Oh my goodness.
that was interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
she's certainly changed, hasn't she? She's very
she's
talented.
she, yeah, she's changed quite a bit. So I've seen almost every, for as far as the 2000s are concerned, 2010s and 20s, almost every major country artist in concert somewhere. I don't know where. Saw Dolly Parton here in Raleigh in 2000 and something, 2006, I think. And it's been fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoy taking pictures too of that, of those events, and trying to keep track of all my photographs.
Okay, well, I also know that you are a big time collector of vinyls. So, how did you get started in that collection?
I was born in 1945, and by 1958, I was already buying records. So when I was a teenager, early teenager, I was buying the 45 singles, if you will, 7-inch singles, and then eventually it migrated into the 12-inch LPs. So I started then. I still have a lot of those 45s I bought in the 50s and 60s. But I started, personally buying stuff all during that time through the 60s and 70s, and maybe even into the 80s. But then in the 2000s or so, I started, 90s maybe, started going to estate sales and yard sales and flea markets and wherever, and trying to get or albums that I didn't have of a particular artist, for example, and doing that kind of stuff. So it's like you say, it started really early because I was interested in music, interested in playing music on the vinyl, and still into that. As a matter of fact, still playing anyway. Not buying as much anymore, but still playing. I got enough. I don't need to worry about buying anything anymore. So
Do you play music? Do you play an instrument yourself?
no, I don't. No, I don't do anything. I took piano lessons for maybe a week. No, but no, maybe a month, and that's about it. Don't really play. No, don't really play.
So you like to listen to it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I
And,
do it
and
as
during
well.
during I do some online listening too. During the pandemic, a lot of everybody sort of shut down. You didn't have any festivals or any shows to go to mostly. And a lot of artists that I listened to came on, Facebook Live or Instagram or other things and started listening to them and still do. Some of them are still doing streams every week or a couple of week, couple of streams a week. I still listen to them some, but they're all migrating mostly back to live shows and they don't do as much of that. And these are some of these are independent artists that don't have major labels, but they're trying to get their music out by doing a lot of streaming and YouTube type stuff. So it's fun to watch them occasionally also.
Do you have any favorite albums that you currently have on rotation?
Hmm. Well, that's a hard choice when you got 500 of them, right?
I don't know if you had a short
uh,
list of tried and
Short
true.
list. Well, this is a hard thing to answer. Recently, I've listened to Fleetwood Mac and female artists like Olivia Newton-John, that type of thing. Because when I was going out and collecting records, I would try to get, for example, Olivia Newton-John. I just looked a while ago. I got like 15 of her albums, something like that. So I
Oh
tried
my
to get
goodness.
everyone that she released, if you will, as I was going through. So I have
Oh
to listen to
wow.
them occasionally at least. But I got about 20 Beatles albums and about 30 Elvis albums, I guess. And the Beatles albums, probably some of those are more valuable ones that I have, but there's still none of them are really valuable. The vinyl is coming back, so a lot of people are buying it and reselling them. There's a lot of people out there buying collections and selling them. But I have some Beatle albums that are probably worth in the $100 range, I guess, something like that. But that's about as high as it's going to get with my collection, I think. So,
Well, I think the value is on all really how much you appreciate it. So if it's a good album for
oh, that's
you,
true.
yeah.
That's true. That's true. It is. Yeah.
How about any rare albums or any vinyls that you're especially proud to own?
There's a couple of Beatles albums that are fairly rare, but again, they're not that rare enough to be worth thousands of dollars or so. But I'm looking for one from the Beatles album that I can afford to buy. But they released an album called Yesterday and Today, I think it's called, and they did an original version with a not too likable cover, sort of an offensive color cover on it. So they pulled that thing back. The manufacturer and distributor pulled them back, but of course some got sold. So those are worth. They're called the Beatles Butcher cover, and they're worth $20,000 to $30,000 a piece
Oh
because there
my.
just weren't that many. There's only a couple hundred that actually got out in the universe, if you will. But when they pulled them back, instead of throwing all those album covers away, they got a paste thing and put on top of them, and then resent them back out. Those with the paste on top of them, and you can tell by this sort of stuff bleeds through. Those are worth in the $1,000 by themselves.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then the final version, which I've got a couple of, are not worth too much. So I'm looking for that one, but I won't be able to afford to buy it. But anyway,
You never know. You might come across it.
yeah, never can tell, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now that you are retired, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that? What year did you retire?
2008.
Okay.
2008.
So it's been a little
And
bit.
yeah, it's been a while. Been a while. Yeah, I've been lucky. I've been lucky in my health too. Hasn't been pretty good with that, so that's good.
Oh, that
And
very very good to hear.
doing a lot of things with the family during that retirement time and that type of thing, and making sure we do that. Well, that's important.
So what are some things that you've been able to do with your family now that you're retired that you couldn't do before?
Probably a few trips. I know my granddaughter, my older granddaughter. Um, she and I spent a lot of time together. She went to a lot of the country concerts with me here. She's 23 now, but she's a daughter. She's the mother of my great granddaughter. I got great granddaughters too, and she's the mom. But now, back when she was a teenager and younger, she and I went to a lot of the country shows here, and we've been on several trips by ourselves. We went to Atlanta, for example, to through there, went to the zoo and that kind of stuff, and went um, up to Tupelo, Mississippi, to Elvis's home, back to Memphis and spent some time there. Went to Nashville, came back, did a trip like that. And then she had never flown at all, and I'd never been to the Rocky Mountains. So we went to Denver area for a week, that kind of stuff. So
Oh wow.
all this has happened since I retired. And we've been to some local trips to the beach and the mountains and that kind of stuff. My wife is from the mountains, so we've been there quite a bit. So
So now that you're retired, do you feel like your passions in photography and your music that you've been able to explore those more?
I think I've been able to explore some more, yes. Um, Around this area, I've been trying to take videos here at Preston Point occasionally if there's an event that deserves, most of them, all of them deserve to have pictures and videos taken. But so if I attended, I try to take some short videos to put on the website, the Facebook page, excuse me, and take pictures of flowers and that kind of stuff. And more time to spend time with the grandkids, taking
Oh
them,
yes.
doing some photography, that kind of thing. And just speaking of general in photography, back when I was working at IBM, they had a photography club, so they would do some outings too to just go somewhere and take photographs and stuff and learn how to do it better. And that gave me a lot of education back then also to do a little better. Today with the digital camera type stuff and the phones, you can take 50 pictures of one thing so you can get one that's halfway decent. Back when you're using film, you had to actually think a little bit more, cropping and getting the lighting exactly right, the focus right. so you can get one, maybe. That's good. But now you can play around a little bit, and then you can take those photographs and modify them slightly if you need to brighten them or contrast and stuff. So it's a little more interesting in some ways than the older after the fact, but in the beginning, it's not quite as much planning ahead, I guess, if you will.
Well, I know you share a lot on our residents and families page,
I'll
a lot
try.
of your work. That's sort of how we discovered you and all of your wonderful talents because they are very, very well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of
Thank you.
course. So, any advice for other seniors who are entering retirement or considering it or already there?
I think trying to think positive is the main thing, I believe. And also keep close to your family and your friends because as you get older, things are going to change. And you'll, uh, and that's important. Family and friends, I think, is the main thing. Is to make sure to uh, keep keep that going and keep everything in your mind about that.
Um, how about what do you enjoy most about living at Preston Point?
Oh, okay. I thought you'd get there eventually. No, I think two things. When you first get here, it's all new and you have to get adjusted and stuff, and then eventually, as you go through, you meet a lot of new people and have new friends. I think that's one of the most important things. And also here, I've found that all the employees and the staff and stuff are extremely friendly, very nice, very helpful, and that makes the transition a lot better. The food is good also, and the activities are good. So I think all that together makes it a nice place to be.
That's so wonderful to hear. All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time and joining us on this podcast. Did you have any questions? Any comments?
No, but thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Retirement Point podcast. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe for more.